Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my God! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Hello everybody, welcome along to the Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series here on Simspeed TV. Thanks to Simfinity and Virtual Motorsport Mentor, we get to go racing in some pretty rookie cars to provide some of the best action we see, no matter where we see them out there on the iRacing service. As always, it's me, Ryan Jones, joined by David Haynes tonight and Jake Kennedy behind the scenes. And David, before we get started underway, the Skip Barber last week provided some very close racing. We had a 3-wide finish for the win out at Phillip Island. Now we move to a much tighter track. We head to Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, g'day. I mean, how important was that slipstream at Phillip Island? It was absolutely massive. Lime Rock Park's a little bit different. Again, quite a few sweeping corners here. Relatively high speed on the pit straight, but not quite to the level of Phillip Island. Of course, the race format stays the same, and it is a thing of beauty, I think, in these championships.
Indeed it is, and here's how they're going to line up for the start of race number 1. Remember, a 2-race format for these rounds. Tim Gorkroger starts on the pole, Ryan Jarek alongside. Good to see Jarek now turning up with some pace after a lackluster first round. Christopher Williams starting from 3rd, Aidan Coote from 4th. Robert Cook and Matty Jones on row 3. James Dyer, Dennis Hancock on the 4th row of the grid. Then Matthew Mikes and Kyle Simpson starting 9th and 10th.
11th is Daniel Interisi. Then he's going to be alongside, not quite alongside, it's a staggered grid with Matt Marsh, Nathan Verney in 13th, Braden McKay 14th, 15th Oliver Marquardt, 16th Ryan Huckel, 17th Braden Martin, Tom Verschelden in 18th, Vic Bentveltsen in 19th, and Matt Hodson in 20th on our grid.
Going to be a 27-car field. Peter Wilkinson, I should say. Leon Williams on row 11. Jake Sperry, Gordon Smith back there. Then Todd Maxfield, Justin Howe, and Paul Rosati will round out the field. Obviously, we've got 2 live race control admins in the server to hand out any penalties that may be required. Hopefully, none are required, and we get a great, clean race. It's a 15-minute sprint, this one. All out from start to finish. 31-degree track temp. Slightly hotter than your typical race in Aussie car competition. An estimated race distance of 16 laps due to the 58-second nature of this 2.4-kilometer 7-turn track. A couple of those turns are very close to, if not full throttle, because of the low horsepower these cars generate. As you mentioned, it's a staggered grid. So big advantage to Gorkroger. He's got a car length clear and the inside for the short run down to turn 1. For everyone else, though, they're going to have to sort themselves out very, very quickly before we sweep into the right-hander. And then the left-hander is almost like a Herman Tilke sort of start to the lap with the tight right and then in the left. Either way, we're here in the USA at Lime Rock Park for the first race, round 2 of the Aussie Car Formula Skip Barber season. And we are green, and that's a good launch of Gorkroger. He's going to be able to take the racing line down into turn number 1. Good start from Robert Cook as well, looking to try to find a way by Aidan Coote to make our way down to the right-hander.
Got to be careful, those cold tyres right at the start. They're 3 wide in the middle of the pack, but right at the front, they've stayed in the order that they qualified. There is going to be plenty of laps to try and make a move in a 15-minute race.
And there's a crash and a spinner at the back as well. There's debris strewn across the racetrack. Leon Williams says goodbye to his rear wing. That looked like Peter Wilkinson, who just took a tow back to the lane. There were a couple other drivers caught up in that as well. I believe Sperry might have been in or around that incident because he was on the radio very quickly around the region of turn number 1 as well. We'll look at a replay when we can. At the moment, side by side and running a little bit wide. That was Robert Cook, who was wide through the exit of turn 6 and wide through turn 7. So Matty Jones goes by, and James Dyer with a great run tucked up in the slipstream. And now to the inside of Jones. He will take away that spot as they head down into turn 1 for the second time.
And that's your number 1 overtaking zone here on the classic layout of Lime Rock Park. He's getting a good exit, a good run out of the final corner in the run down towards turn 1. Still going to battle here. That is nose to tail stuff, and that is around for Matty Jones. Positions gained and now suddenly lost.
Good save for James Dyer. Unfortunately, he might have picked up damage because now he's slow. That or he's redressing. It's one of those two options. He had managed to gather it up after being pitched sideways and did a good job to save it. And now he's starting to get himself back up to speed, just off in front of this battle with Daniel Interizzi. Matty Jones falling back behind him. Matthew Mites, Kyle Simpson almost into the grass. And then Brendan Mackay, you saw it on board. Around he went. And he collected Ryan Huckel. As he spun, Huckel was pitched up onto 2 wheels and then into the fence.
So quite a bit of debris strewn about in our opening laps here. And at the pointy end, though, Tim Garkrodger is not being able to shake Ryan Jarrett. Christopher Williams trying to ride along with them as well. So action in the middle of the pack. We're going to take a look at that.
So this is actually the lap 1 incident. So there is Sperry on the inside. Oh, the crash in front. He was caught up. And I think in the end, the car count sits at 5 for that incident. Maybe 6. Todd Maxfield, Paul Rosati. 2 more of the drivers that got caught up. There's another one down on the inside there who was involved in the collision. That was a case of 2 cars coming together and everyone behind had really nowhere to go. And here is the replay of the other one.
So we saw this one from onboard. Mackay just out wide onto the grass, spears him back across and into, I think, another innocent driver there. It's just a case of trying to be a little too fast, too wide there, and you see there is no grip whatsoever on the grass.
And poor old Huckel had nothing he could do about that. So riding on board with Ryan Jarrett now, sitting in second place, and he's gone with Garkrodger very well. Remember, Garkrodger picks up 1 of the wins last time out at Phillip Island. There's just a point in it at the top of the standings. Just look at the attitude these cars display, especially coming up and over that crest there. We see it through a lot of the corners. We touched on it in round 1. The rear end loves to hang out, but as you come over that crest over at turn 5, it's one of the trickier corners in the service, actually, because no matter what car you're in, the car wants to loop around.
Here comes Jarrett. Garkrodger had a pretty poor run out of the final corner. Just had to get out of the throttle a bit to avoid the grass. Jarrett, perfect run, sat right in the toe, and then has gone into first place. I think Garkrodger's going to stick with him, though. It was calculated not to defend that one for the lead.
I think you're right about that. He lifted off as he pulled alongside. Behind, there was a change of position as well. Matt Marsh was able to get by Robert Cook sometime between the start and finish line and turn 1. Aiden Coote actually putting in the fastest lap of the race there. And where even is he on the racetrack? He's not up inside the top 5. In fact,
He's in 4th.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's 4th, but that's impressive. So if he can keep that pace up, he may be able to run down Williams or maybe even those top 2 if they continue to battle and start running side by side through a few of these corners. Hey, Garkrodger's got back alongside him, and it's like a mirror image of lap number 1. This time it's the previous lap. This time it's Garkrodger on the inside and Jarrett on the outside lifting off. Oh no, Williams! He's dropped 2 tyres in the grass, and that makes it very easy for Aiden Coote.
Cook and Marsh together as well in turn 1, and breakdancing skills there from Robert Cook, but he is not going to like that whatsoever. Parts falling off his car as those 2 drivers tangled into turn 1. Take a look at that one because they were battling over 5th and 6th here. Matty Marsh was one of the biggest movers up through the field, and then just, my goodness, the 2 tangled together and a lot of damage for both, I would think.
Looks like the chassis just dug into the turf and pitched him up onto his roof there. Rather unceremoniously, left shoulder like a turtle on its back, so he has to go back to pit lane. Jarrett might be in need of a tear-off for his visor, as that will get a little bit dirty before the race is done. Remember, race 2 will be a 25-minute affair with a mandatory pit stop for a minimum of 2 tyres as well. So that's going to play into the strategy cards as well, for anyone who considers himself a strategy genius out there. Take a look at that though, David. Fastest lap last time for Gorkroger.
Yeah, it's clearly settled it down a little bit. It's easy to overdrive these cars. We've seen that a bit, and they've been helped by Coot and Williams battling each other behind, dropping back just a little bit further, kind of making it a 2-horse battle for the lead at the minute.
Here's a battle for the fringes of the top 10 as they snake their way down the bottom of the circuit. This is Matthew Mites, tucked right up in behind Nathan Verney at the moment. And last time by, Verney was 2/10 quicker. So I wonder if he might have actually got by him last lap, because he's only about 2/10 in front of him. Oh, that's a mistake in front of them. And
More
Mike
trouble,
spins in
Matty Johns.
sympathy. Can he keep it off the fence? He can. Can he keep it off the racing line? Answers that one is a yes as well. And Matthew Mites, unfortunately, going to have to go to the back. And that was Matty Jones that spun in front of him, which I think is the reason Mites ended up spinning. It was as a reaction to seeing that car stranded.
Yeah, this was Marquardt and Jones battling, and again, we might just see that grass has no grip on the outside of the final corner. Going to see it on board here from Jones, hopefully, and maybe he got squeezed towards the inside there a little bit. I don't know.
Very close. Fortunately, both cars walk away without any damage, but they drop quite a way down the order in terms of both time and position. Nathan Verney's happy though, because that's given him some breathing room, and Jarek has not let Gorkroger stretch it out any further.
No, and Jarek must have gone off the circuit on the last lap, because the lap time he set should have been the fastest lap of the race, a 57.4. But Gorkroger still holds the official fastest lap of the race. Just goes to show these two just trading lap times, staying very close with each other indeed. Maybe just like that, you saw Jarek 2 in the background there, coming up the hill, using the track, and then a little bit, but getting away with it.
Battle for third place behind them, Aiden Coote, starting to get reeled in now after going purple earlier on. Christopher Williams, a 10th quicker last lap, and the gap between them just about half a second, maybe a fraction more. Pretty dicey though. Even further afield, Matty Jones, Braden Martin, and Daniel Interizzi.
Jones clearly trying to work his way back up through the field after that spin that we saw.
There's Marquardt on board with him, sitting over his right-hand shoulder as he looks at the back of Dennis Hancock. And Marquardt, last lap, was able to squeeze 0.4 of a second out of that margin, so he is flying comparative to what Hancock's putting down. So Hancock's going to have his hands full by the time they get back around to the main straight, if Marquardt can continue to close. Dirty air effect and open wheelers gets ever stronger the closer you get, makes it tricky to continue to gain at big margins when you pull up to the back of someone. Fortunately, the Skip Barbers, relatively low downforce, isn't quite as big of an issue. Hancock may have overcompensated there. He drove in really deep and almost got to the back of him. Here he goes.
Yeah, Marquardt gets to the inside and dives it in pretty hot, but I think manages to pick it up, get the car to rotate between turns 1 and 2, which is super important in any car here, and he's gained another position. He's up a handful, up 9 spots from where he qualified, so maybe not the qualifying he's after. He's one of a couple drivers forcing their way through the field.
Ooh, it's timed up now for third. The gap is continuing to shut down. Aiden Coote responded a little bit last lap, but it still wasn't enough. Matt Hodson, did he hold Coote up there a little bit? I don't know. He gets out of the way now, pulls to the right-hand side, down the main straight. Now Coote moves it over, driving it down the middle of the track to prevent a look from Williams. That's going to put him slightly offline and a bit shallow for the first corner. They have to drive around the slow car on the inside. That's Leon Williams, who's missing a rear wing.
doesn't seem to have helped or hindered either of our drivers in their particular battle here, though Coot has maybe pulled a car length or so on Williams, and I think they're going to have 4 to go when they cross the line next. So this 15-minute race beginning to wind down just a little.
Not winding down for 11th. Here's a replay thanks to Motum Simulation. This was the move for Matty Jones, getting up the inside of Daniel Interizzi at turn 1, using some of the curbing on the inside there to help hook the car around the corner, and got it done very cleanly indeed. So he's now trying to skip away from that number 6 car. Coot doing a good job now of responding to the attack.
Yeah, both these guys driving it like they stole it, just trying to be that final car on the podium in race number 1 here. Williams, of course, started in 3rd, lost that position to Coot, but has not let him get away.
Speaking of getting away, Gorkroj is now to a 1.6 second gap. So Jarek has started to fall late on in the run. I wonder if that's a sign of things to come when we add an extra 10 minutes to race number 2. May make things even more difficult for the guy driving the number 14. So 3 laps to go. 2 tyres off the edge of the racetrack.
Only 2?
That hurts his momentum. It might have been 3 tyres. He definitely had 1 on the track at least. Williams kept all 4 on the black stuff. That gives him a much better run by the time they reach the braking zone. And on the inside, he prevails very easily. Track has actually gotten very dark overhead, and so they're putting down blistering lap times as a result. Fastest lap for both those drivers last time by. Track temp remains the same as they started. They are finding grip out there.
Yeah, flying lap from Williams to get himself up into 3rd. Looking here, Verney and Hancock. Verney's up 6 positions from where he qualified, so also another big gainer. Let's see.
Yeah, there's been some massive gains from drivers right throughout this field. We'll highlight some of them towards the results end of this show as Verney. That was the move on the inside to take away P7. Not bad in live pictures. Coot's coming back at Williams with the draft, the slingshot to the inside. Move made. Can he hold it though? Still got a couple laps left in this battle for the final spot on the podium. Williams needs to be ahead, or one of these drivers needs to be ahead by the time they start the run into turn 2 on the white flag lap, because all the moves are coming at turn 1. So in theory, there's no opportunity for a move until after the checkered flag if you get the run out of the final corner on the main straight. Here might be another spot. Someone putting up a lot of smoke there on the front of your screen, but look like they're all good.
Gorkroj just starting the final lap, so just 2.46 more kilometers for him. And I absolutely agree with you. In this battle, 3rd and 4th, you want to be the one leading out the final corner. You can't wait and make a timer run to the line like maybe you could at Phillip Island. There's just not enough space for that. This is where it matters.
And Coot knew he was straight to the inside line out of that final corner to cover off Williams. They both drop it off the edge of the circuit. They're using everything they can. Every last little bit of grip and performance they've got left in the rubber on their form of the Skip Barbers. Down the back of the circuit they go. They'll rise up and over the crest. Williams is showing the nose. Can he get it up the inside? He can. Coot left the door open, and Williams shoves his car firmly through the gap, and he gets himself in front. But out front, Tim Gorkroj out of the final corner, going to go lights to flag in this one. After a great battle with Ryan Jarek, he will win race 1 here in Lime Rock Park. Jarek home in 2nd. Here's the run to line. Aiden Coot with the slipstream, with the slingshot. He takes it away. He proved us wrong. He got the momentum out of the final corner, and he got him by the line. He's 3rd.
What a cracking scrap all race long from those guys. You see James Dyer is going to get 5th. Oliver Marquardt, we said, up a bunch of positions, is coming across the line. And your biggest mover all race, Justin Howe, from 28th, maybe technically 26th on the grid, finishes in the top 10 in 8th place. So whichever way you look at it, at least 18 positions gained there, as Matty Jones loses out one coming to the line to Daniel Interisi. Those two battled a couple laps. So if you had your camera out near the start-finish line, what a great place to be for the final lap of the race. A couple drag races to the end there in the 15-minute sprint race.
More smoke signals being sent as someone loops it through the last corner there. And Gork Roger will come down to pit road. So let's go through our full results from race 1. Stay with us. Still another race to come and qualifying for that race as well in a few minutes' time. So Gork Roger's margin of victory was 2.4 seconds, and Aiden Coote coming home in third in the end by just shy of 300, or just north of 300ths of a second over Christopher Williams. James Dyer 5th. Oliver Marquardt home in 6th, up 9 spots. Up 6 spots for Vernie in 7th. Up 20 for Howe. Hancock home in 9th, and Matt Marsh in 10th.
11th place, you saw that finish even closer between Interisi and Matty Jones there for 11th and 12th. Matthew Mites in 13th, Braden Martin 14th, 15th for Vic Bentfeldsen, and first car off a lead lap. Very easy to do here at Lime Rock Park with sub 1 minute lap times. Matt Hodson, then Ryan Huckle, also a lap down. Behind them, Brad Mackay, Gordon Smith. Dramas further down the field for Robert Cook.
Yeah, and there's the rest of our drivers who unfortunately had to take a retirement. I think a good chunk of those coming as a result of the lap 1 crash down at turn number 1. So don't go anywhere. Wherever you are watching from around the country or outside of Australia, if you're tuning in internationally, or from New Zealand, I guess that counts as international as well. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this for the second half of round 2 of the Ozicar Skip Barber Series. Welcome back to Simspeed TV to our coverage of the Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series, presented by Simfinity and Virtual Motorsport Mentor. We're here at Lime Rock Park. We've just seen race 1 conclude. It's 15 minutes, providing plenty of action. Now we're going to expand it to a 25-minute race, force them into pit lane for 2 fresh tyres at some point, and see how they go, David.
Yeah, indeed, it's going to be good. We've seen from race 1 that you can battle here, you can pass, but it's not a slam dunk like at Phillip Island where you're always going to get enough toe to get the pass done. So I think that bodes well for the racing. And then you throw in, give them a little bit more time and make them pit. I think it's going to be a good race.
Yes, certainly. We'll see how Ryan Jarrett goes. He was very fast early and then faded towards the end. So whether he just started making mistakes or whether he is struggling at the end, we'll see, because a longer race might not play into his favour, but pit stops and fresh tyres may work for him. If he can stick with Gork Roger, maybe they'll switch around in qualifying. Remember, a 10-minute qualifying session to precede this second race to reform the grid. Race 1 has no bearing on race 2, which is, I think, great for the format as a whole, because drivers that run into issues in race 1, whether it be bad luck or a mistake of your own, get a second chance with no carry-on effect from the first half of the evening.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a progressive grid can be interesting, but there's also the great effect in this where, you know, they go out for that 15-minute sprint race, and then some drivers who, you know, got involved in problems not of their own making, like Jake Sperry for once, will have a better opportunity now to show us what they're worth.
So qualifying gets underway. We're going to see most of these laps get done well before the session comes to a conclusion. They have 3 laps up their sleeve to put as fast of a lap time as they can on the board. 10 minutes to do so. You don't want to do it one by one. You want to do all 3 laps at once, because tyres are a big talking point in this session, and being you need to get them into the optimal working range. When you come out of pit lane, they're stone cold. There's no grip. You've got to really work hard to get them up to temperature. And by the 3rd lap, you may be staring at a car that has warm tyres that have lost their edge. So there's also that to manage too.
So a lot of our drivers are about to start their first flying lap. Paul Rosati has maybe not got the optimal line out the final corner, but he's absolutely begun warming up those tyres. So he approaches turns 1 and 2, both right-handers that flow into each other. He's come in a little bit too hot there, I do think.
And it actually looks like he's backed out of it. Here's Brendan Mackay gearing up for his first lap. Let's ride on board with him for a lap of the Lime Rock Park circuit. It'll be over in but a minute's time. So he flashes across the stripe, onto the brakes for turn 1. It's a very long, never-ending corner.
Now, that's what I was talking about, needing to find that rotation between turns 1 and 2 so you don't push out wide, so you're in the correct place as well to then go into the only left-hander on this classic circuit.
Flicking it back to the right straight away, and then down the back straight, you ride through the right and the left, which are completely flat, don't even really feel like turns in the cockpit. This one's so tricky as you tip it in, and then over the crest. Normally it's the crest where you lose it, but Mackay broke loose before he got there through the middle of the corner. He held onto it very nicely, and he'll gather it back up for the last 2 corners and get back up to speed for his second attempt. At the moment, Robert Cook has gone to the top of the sheets.
Yep, as you can see, first flying laps have started coming in their dribs and drabs. Drivers still got plenty of time. If they're not out there right now, it's not a problem. But Huckel, again, another driver struggling with the turn into that uphill corner. Track temperature is pretty much the same as what they'd just been racing in earlier, so it's not like it's suddenly got massively more slick out there catching them out, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, it's cooler, isn't it? 5 degrees cooler, so they should be finding more grip. They should be going quicker than they did in the first race, although in terms of getting up to the good a tyre temper you want, might be a little bit more difficult, which may affect some of the qualifying efforts. Really impressed with Robert Cook. Christopher Williams is second there. 1700ths off of him. And then a pretty big gap back to everyone else. Matt Hodson, what can he do? A 59.885. That's going to put him down in 15th, so he'll need to find an improvement.
For Sheldon, just leaving the pit lane in the silver bullet to start his laps. So I would say most of the field have tried to leave the pit lane right at the drop of the green flag on the session. There is 1 or 2 drivers who know that to do an outlap and 3 flying laps only takes them about 4 minutes and are only just getting into it now. Oh, can you hear the Eurobeat there, Ryan?
Or the Tokyo Drift theme song. Yep. That is great. That is the action we come to see, Justin. Keep it up.
Big save, but he did hold on to it.
Unfortunately, it ruined not only that lap, but the lap coming up as well, because his momentum would have been killed across the stripe. So, good to see... Still doing it. So good to see drivers going at the end of the session. Gives us stuff to talk about all the way through. Your 2 big guys, Gork Roger and Jarek from race 1, haven't gone out yet. Lindenthaler struggling as he runs down the hill. And in fact, he's going to bring it down to pit road. A chicane to bring it into pit road here.
Maybe he's just practicing that pit entry, making sure he's got it good for the race.
It's not often that when you come to pit road, you actually add a whole other quarter of your total corner count to bring it into the lane. I probably could have worded that better. The point is, there's a 7-corner track and there's 2 corners in the pit entry.
Yeah, it's a bigger ratio than even at Bathurst, where you've got 3 corners on the pit entry.
Yeah. Actually reminds me a bit of Bathurst, the entry here, just without the big 90-degree corner to get around. So, Todd Maxfield props to 24th. Tom for Sheldon, that chrome, unmissable Skip Barber. Misses the apex, though, unfortunately, at the last corner. And that's going to hurt him quite a bit, because he's going to be very slow across the line. In fact, it's a 60-second plus lap. It's 1:01. Goes 23rd, just ahead of
Rosati and Maxfield, I think it was, just behind him there.
Yeah. It's always good when you go to call out a name and realize you don't know who it is. And
I got you, pal. Don't worry. And we're looking at Justin Howe, who's, I think, maybe on the second flying lap. I think the first lap didn't count here for Howe. So now we're a little snap across the top of the hill, but overall it's looking pretty racy. But this one needs to go into the bag, and I don't think it will.
It's gone into the grass instead. Oh, no, don't hit that curb, Justin.
I think all of the qualifying 3 flying laps are all basically a write-off now for Justin Howe, which is unfortunate. 3 laps you'd think is plenty, but obviously the pressure is getting to some of these drivers to perform in 1 lap, which is, 2 braking zones or something. As for Sheldon is also off, pushing the limits of the car and the circuit.
So there's 4 drivers that haven't set a time. Obviously, Justin Howe's one of them. Gordon Smith is the other. Gork Roger and Jarek. Now, they're not going to go out. We saw this from Gork Roger last week, and in fact from Jarek as well. Not qualifying and racing away through the field. The good thing about these short and sharp seasons, a lot of drivers see them as an opportunity to have some fun. Obviously, Gork Roger and Jarek are incredibly fast and always run at the front no matter what they're in. So it's a good opportunity for them to express their actual racecraft prowess and try to get to the pack as quickly as they can.
I was about to run down on pit lane and grab that unattended car, but it's gone now, unfortunately. But I was about to put my glove.
I don't think anyone wants to see that, David.
Rude.
When
There's
was the
one
last
with the driver.
Yeah, just yank him out of the car.
No, there's a different car.
GTA style. You don't need this anymore, buddy. Lindenthaler. Hey, he's out of the car for you. Oh, that's for Sheldon. Hope he left the engine running for you. So, for Sheldon, we'll start this one from 13th. We've got about a minute and a half left. before we start gridding drivers up. Now, in terms of when you pit, that's a big talking point. It's a very short lap, so when you come to pit lane, if you're towards the back when you do it, chances are you're going to go a lap down and end up in the traffic of faster cars. If you're at the front, you're probably going to end up either going close to a lap down or mixing it with the guys at the back. There's no real safe place to pit from.
Yeah, I mean, as we say, the shorter lap here, I think if you're anything beyond about 15 seconds away from the lead, pitting is going to put you a lap down and then amongst the traffic of the leading cars that haven't pit yet. So I think it's even more of a challenge deciding when you're going to take that stop than it was at Phillip Island. And of course, we saw almost everyone opting to change front tyres at Phillip Island. Did catch one pit stop where someone changed the rear tyres, but that's one to look out for.
Going to be really fun to watch Gorkroger and Jarek carve their way through the field as we expect they should. Now, these two, they used to be teammates for Eclipse Sim Sports, and of course, Eclipse shut down. So they're both now free agents as far as I'm aware. So an opportunity for them to express their talents to any potential team bosses watching on. Let's take a look at the starting grid then. So Coot and Williams will occupy the front row after their battle for third in race 1. Then Robert Cook and James Dyer behind. Oliver Marquardt and Daniel Interizzi starting off row 3. Big improvement for Interizzi there, challenging for 10th in first race. Braden Martin and Matty Jones on row 4. Matt Marsh, Matthew Mites, 9th and 10th.
11th is going to be Nathan Verney, Braden Mackay in 12th. Tom Sheldon, we saw him and Silver Bullet there, 13th. 14th going to be Vic Bentveltsen. Dennis Hancock, 15th. Sean Doyle, 16th. Jake Sperry, hoping for a better race this one. And he's going to start out as 17th. Leon Williams, 18th. Peter Wilkinson, 19th. And Kyle Simpson is in 20th on the grid.
Matt Hodson, Ryan Huckel, 21st, 22nd. Joshua Lindenthaler, who we saw sitting in the car patiently on pit road. Then Paul Rosati, Todd Maxfield. Then Tim Gorkroger, Ryan Jarek, Gordon Smith, running out your 28 car field. We've gained one for race 2. And then, of course, your 2 live admins, Justin Howe as well. It's a 29 car field. We've gained 2 drivers. How good?
Yeah, fantastic. They've got just about a minute. Everyone's forming up on the grid. Going to be a standing start once again. And I'm hearing some chatter that, those first 2 laps on cold tyres are a real challenge. So will drivers take that stop early, try and get it out of the way, or will they try and put that off until later in the race? I think we're going to be in 2 minds on the grid today.
Expect this race to be wild, with your 2 fastest drivers coming through and 2 drivers in the front row that battled phenomenally for the back end of the podium in race 1, and a whole host of cars in between that quartet. Track temp, 28 degrees, estimated race distance of 26 laps, a mandatory 2 tyres stop. This race is going to have it all here at Lime Rock Park, concluding the second round of the first ever Aussie Car Formula Skip Barber Series here on Simspeed TV. Clock ticks over. And now the eyes to the gantry for the drivers on the track as the red lights come on. And the green flag comes out. Let's go racing from Lime Rock. What a start for Aiden Coop. He will skip clear. And that's Skip Barber. Down to turn number 1. Christopher Williams going to be under pressure because Robert Cook had a nose to his inside, but he backs out of it. Further back, can make it through this time by... Yes, they can. Gone much better than to race 1.
Definitely for turn 1, that's the case. Much cleaner start. Was a good jump from Coot, as you mentioned, and I think part of that was improved by Williams not getting quite the getaway he wanted. Obviously, those 2, Coot and Williams, fought over 3rd and 4th in the sprint race. Now, with 1st and 2nd starting from the back of the grid, surely they think they could be a chance this time.
Williams did a good job to fend Cook off, holding it around the outside on the entry turn 1 was able to clear him by the second apex of the corner. Side by side into turn 6, further back in the pack. That will have resolved itself by the time I get down to turn 7 here, as you see them all single file. But now into pit lane comes Robert Cook and Christopher Williams. So 2nd and 3rd, down to pit road on lap number 1. Joined by more.
5 or 6 drivers doing that lap 1 pit strategy just to try and get that out of the way. And there's some drivers behind who now have a bit more clean air to try and push on potentially as well.
And Braden Martin threw it off the road from P5 up at the first corner. So he's now dropped a long way down the order. In fact, he is battling with Lundenthaler, who's back in 20th. There he is, 17th. Here's a replay, thanks to Modem Simulation, of what happened to him. Just lost the rear end.
Turned in a little bit late, maybe a bit aggressive. Rear tyres obviously still cold, just didn't have the grip for him. So, yeah, just trying to be too aggressive too early. As you can see, that's Dyer from inside the top 5, also going for pit road. So some drivers doing it early. Everyone who hasn't in the first 1 or 2 laps surely are going to try and go a bit longer in their first stint. Oh, Lindenthaler's missed pit entry.
Nathan Verney, Dennis Hancock, Vic Bent-Vzelen also into pit road. And eventually, Lindenthaler, him and a cone down on the pit lane.
Bars are open and he's found himself a traffic cone to take home.
Here's a shameful replay that I'm sure Lindenthaler did not want us to show. This is how not to come into the lane. We talk about it being tricky because of the little chicane you've got. Too deep on the brakes, could not get it turned, and managed to avoid making contact, but had to back it up and then took the cone for good measure. A souvenir of his mistake.
Speeding on the way into pit in, though, at that kind of speed, unfortunately.
Always look at the bright
probably
side.
Probably not. You never quite want to grab reverse gear during a race situation like that.
All right, where are Gorkroger and Jurek? They've not gained much at all. In fact, they pitted on the first lap. So, those two, we're not going to know how they're going to shake out until the very end of the race, or at least until everyone else pits. So we'll keep them in the back of our mind for now. That looked like Sperry. It is Sperry, of course, in that brightly camouflaged car that's not really very camouflaged, is it? The number
Dazzle.
72. Yeah, he's up in 6th place at the moment, courtesy of all the pit stops so far. But he's under a lot of pressure. And to the inside for turn 5, Justin Howe. Going to take it. Sperry very wide. Taking the ultimate long route around that corner. And that is going to offer up a free spot for Huckel.
Yeah, Howe obviously had no qualifying time, so he's coming through here. Quick hands from Jake Sperry to save that one.
Quick
but
thumbs. He's on the controller, don't forget.
Yeah. Oh no, don't worry. I'd not forgotten. So Huckel decides now's the time to pit. Sperry's still under pressure from Simpson, Wilkinson, and some others behind there as well. Looks like, I'd say, just over half your field have pitted as Sperry leaves some smoke signals in turn 1.
I'd give that a solid 8 out of 10 for that drift into turn 1. Reverse entry almost. So he's 7th, but he's dropping a ton of time. He's 15 seconds off the race lead. Tim Gorkroger just put down the fastest lap of the race. So that's a sign of potentially his pace. Further back, I'm sure Jarek is probably lapping similarly as well. In fact, let me go compare their times.
What we're seeing here is definitely why some drivers pit early, because Simpson and Lindenthaler are being held up a little bit by Sperry here. This is why some of those drivers behind might have opted to pit early. Sperry's going to stay out, but there goes Simpson deciding, I've had enough of this this controller nonsense.
You know, I think Jarek's made a mistake. He's 6 seconds behind Gorkroger. He pitted on the second lap. But he's got 3 slow laps, which doesn't quite add up. That's a wild entry. Did he make it? Who was that? It wasn't him. No, he did not make it. He didn't make it.
We said practice that pit entry. We did say it, and unfortunately a couple drivers are trying to attack it too fast.
Benefit of the doubt, he might not have actually been trying to come to pit road. Let's see if he drops the left sides off. He does. Oh, he
Tags
just
the
got
rear.
the rear. And the front gets knocked off as well for good measure. And then iRacing says, you know what, have it back. Have the front end back. He'd already pitted too, so that's ruined his strategy quite substantially.
Interisi on the lane there, you saw the front getting jacked up, so just front tyres for him.
That's the other decision drivers are going to make, is what tyres do they take? Fronts. Do you see with the general consensus? Did he just go round the outside? Or did... He did. Good job.
It's very much doable, those corners there in the opening sector of the lap. If you've got the confidence and if the other driver's just struggling to make the car rotate on a compromised line. So looking then here at Dyer and Williams, both have pitted. Dyer has had just a little bit less time on the lane than Williams, and that is why the driver who qualified second is struggling behind Dyer. Good little scrap they are having, though. These are the two cars that highest up the order who have already made their required pit stops. So Coot hasn't pitted yet. He's still in it for the win. Dyer runs a bit wide there, though.
Effective race lead, question mark over where Coot rejoins. Inside line for Williams. This should be spot gained up at turn 1. In fact, he breezes by 2 cars as up on the outside, Todd Maxfield got right out of the way and then to it through the grass as well. So Williams now provisionally first/second. As Gork Roger sweeps around the slow-moving Maxfield. Matt Marsh and Tom Sheldon are still battling away back there as well. In fact, Matt Marsh has picked up a couple spots on this lap. Sheldon's made a mistake, that's why. He's dropped behind Gork Roger and Marsh on this one.
So for Sheldon, the one driver who hasn't pitted, mixed in amongst the other battle going on there of cars that have made their required stop in this 25-minute race. Might's sideways there under pressure from Jarek. Jarek's losing out a lot of time to Gork Roger and the others battling for the win, but he is maybe going to cut through one of the cars he needs to pass here. He gets the tidier exit from the final corner. It proves to be very important.
Yeah, bad news for him, though, is Christopher Williams is 32 seconds off the race lead. Jarek is 42, so he's 10 seconds off the effective lead once Coot pits. Gork Roger is only about 4 seconds behind Williams and closing.
I think what's critical here is Gork Roger is 2 seconds behind, 3 seconds behind Williams, but only 1 car behind him. There's still a lot more traffic for Jarek to work his way through, and those are cars that have made their pit stop, don't have to get out of his way, and are free to battle him and hold him up further. So he's got to get up the road, he's got to stay on the road, as we watch on board with Gork Roger there pushing the limits.
Did more than push the limits there. He flat out just said no thank you to the limits and shoved them out of the way and ended up quite a long way off the road. That's the furthest we've seen someone miss the apex on the exit of the corner so far this evening. And in the end, that cost him a chunk of time. Still remarkably managed to gain, though. That's how quick he is on the rest of the lap.
Another little bit of the grass there for Gork Roger in his pursuit of the last 2 first challenge. Matty Jones and Sean Doyle battling here. Neither have pitted yet. Rear tyres going on for Justin Howe in this stop, as you see the Red Bull Racing levels of rake, and potentially, both tyres there for Justin Howe. So that is not the fastest way to do it, because you don't get all 4 changed at the same time. Limited pit crew for your Skip Barber.
Look at this for the podium, or so it would be if they'd pitted, which they have not. Sean Doyle, Matty Jones. This should be relatively simple for Doyle up at turn number 1, and indeed it is, as Jones tucks in behind him. Important for these guys to keep out of each other's way and go as fast as they possibly can, so that when they do pit, they filter out as high as possible. And saying that, they're already 10 seconds off Cooch. They're looking at rejoining somewhere around Nathan, Verney, Daniel, and Turizzi, who are back in 19th and 20th at the moment.
Fastest lap of the race for Gaukrodger, and he is closing in on Williams and Dyer. They're just up the road from him, and they are the cars in the effective race lead, pending what happens for Aiden Coote. So Gaukrodger's pitted on lap 1's giving him enough clean air to put his pace down as other cars have pitted from in front of him. He finds himself in a good position.
In the pit road for Matty Jones after losing out on P3. Another car in the lane, that's Justin Howe. And that car is missing both rear wings. So I think his race might be done.
He's certainly chewing through his tyre allocation as well there. So this is sort of just left the lane on cold tyres. He's trying to defend potentially to the inside. I think that's Interisi behind, maybe. But yeah, there's just no rear grip whatsoever. It snaps one way, snaps the other. He might have got a little bit of help, but he was in all sorts of trouble before that anyway. Did manage to limp it onto pit road, and it was Interisi who's now missing a little bit of his nose cone, having, I think, just mercifully finished the job.
Wow, Paul Rosati and Matt Hodson just came together as well on the racetrack. Hodson was completely unsighted as he came over the crest, and Rosati was left stranded just over the crest in a perfect spot to be the blind spot as you come out of the corner. So those two now both on pit road.
Williams is going to be hoping and praying and crossing everything that Dyer makes this as hard as possible for Gaukrodger, but I do not see that happening at this minute. This might be a move up one more spot for your race 1 winner. Textbook stuff in the end. Aiden Coote is officially in the lead, yet to make his pit stop. Time beginning to run after him, but we're past halfway in this race, and he is just keeping on going. The gap between himself and Williams, Gaukrodger, and Dyer was maybe closer to 35 seconds earlier. It's down to about 31 now. I think he just hasn't been quite fast enough at the minute.
Here's Cook and Marsh. Marsh looking like he might be able to make a gain here in the battle for just outside the podium. Once it all shakes out for about 5th or 6th, I reckon this could be 4, as he gets slipstream. And the benefit of the toe, does he make a move? He doesn't. In fact, he opts to lift off and sit in behind. So biding his time, playing the patient game here. It was 10 minutes still to run.
These two tangled in race 1, remember?
Yeah, oh yeah, indeed they did. Top 5 yet to pit.
Chase Berry's up into 4th place now, so he'll be screen capturing that one later on.
About to be passed by the drivers that have pitted, though, unfortunately. As James Dyer is trying to work Williams over at the moment. This is for what's going to be P2, because Gaukrodger's gone by them. And, oh! Lindenthaler.
And then Cook and Marsh trying to avoid him.
What happened to him? That car abated very little speed before he got onto the grass. Tipped it in. And car on the inside. Wheel-to-wheel contact. Off he goes.
Is that Dyer?
Yes.
It was Dyer. So
he just got it. He escaped without damage, though, I think.
So another car on the lane. Gaukrodger got past Williams and is now the highest placed of all the cars that have pitted.
From dead last. Did
From
it
back
with time-
there, yep.
Yeah, did it with time to spare. Not a bad effort. 30 seconds off Coop, so based off the pit stop times, he should clear him as well. As, Mackay stomps on the brakes to let the lead lap cars go by, and I don't think Doyle was expecting that. Almost ran straight back into the rear end of him.
Yeah, difficult little position there for Doyle to be in. He's got the car in front slowing up as he's trying to leave the pits. Marshall Cook still battling. Seeing for most of these pit stops about 30 seconds from pit in cone to pit out cone. So if you have 30 seconds in hand, that might just be enough, considering that pit exit's a bit further down the road than pit in is. But any less than that, and I think Coot could still be looking for a podium here, but Doc Roger has been just eating into his margin. He's not going for pit in. That was just a narrow exit from the final corner. Thought maybe he was going to go for that pit stop, but it looks like he's going to put it off as late as he possibly can.
I think he's definitely in with a shout for second or third. I think he's probably going to rejoin in the region of where Williams is. So I dare say that battle from the end of race 1 is going to reignite itself here before this one concludes. Oliver Marquardt, the other driver, yet to make a stop. He's 4.8 seconds off the back of Coot. So he's pretty much in a lane of his own at the moment. Expect him to rejoin around Matt Marsh, Robert Cook if he pits on this lap.
Yeah, not doing so bad for himself to be within 5 seconds of the lead this deep in the race, even though he hasn't pitted yet. Still definitely looking for another top 10. Coot's coming in this lap. From the lead of the race, here he goes, giving plenty of respect to the pit entry. Is it enough? Just it is. So this is going to be very, very telling as Marquardt continues through. Is Coot going to come out in the lead? Is he going to come out in the top 3? Is he going to come out in the top 5?
Someone's in the fence there. Some extra scenery for Gorkreuzer as he makes his way around the track. There's almost no one in front of him. That was Todd Maxfield, who's still stuck there. That car is well and truly totaled. Now he goes back to pit lane. Don't know if I need to see a replay yet as the battle for the lead's going to heat up. Coot rejoins. Where is Gorkreuzer? He's in front of him.
Coot's going to be on very, very cold tyres right here, but he's timed this to perfection. He's got his stop out of the way and he's come out just in front of Gorkreuzer. It's going to be a tough job to keep him behind for another 7 laps, though. Right now, you can see how cold those tyres are for Coot, and he's going to be freshly born deer on ice for the next couple minutes.
Well, my 30-second estimation was about 3 seconds off, maybe even 4 seconds off. Props to Coot. He's kept that pace up at the front, but Gorkreuzer is coming, and Coot is going to have to defend. He's going to have to be very, very aggressive here to keep Gorkreuzer behind him. The battle between the pole man and the rear man for the race lead with 5 minutes to go. Almost pushing him now down the main straight. Coot doesn't defend, and Gorkreuzer says, okay, then I'll just take it to the inside, and I guess I'll go by you. So I think what Coot's doing here is he's going to try to do what he did to Williams and stay with him, thanks to the benefit of the slipstream. Downside being, Gorkreuzer is a heck of a lot quicker than Williams.
It hasn't worked out too terribly for Coot here, though. You know, he's still in second.
Yeah.
I really thought he was going to, try with 5 minutes to go to have his elbows out and defend that one. And you can see Williams also in the matte black car just in the background, going to hunt him down. 5
This means
to go when they cross
Marquardt
the line.
should be on track for a top 5 based off Coot's pit lane transit time.
I think so. It's going to be close between himself and Dyer, and what's helping him is that Dyer is involved in a battle right now with Jarek Marsh and Cook. So Marquardt, by staying out long enough, now kind of has the clean track, while some of those others, Dyer all 4 off. Jarek's going to swoop him up, And as these guys battle, like I say, it just helps Marquette, who hasn't pitted yet and is going to come out around about these guys.
Two totally different tales then for Gorkroger and Jarek from the last row of the grid. They're 10 seconds apart. In terms of race pace, they're only about a second apart if race 1 tells us anything. So it's definitely risky to start back there, but Gorkroger has executed very well so far. About 5 laps to go. And Jarek might be under threat for P5 after just taking it away. Here comes Matt Marsh. He doesn't go for it there. Jarek still running a very wide line through the exit to turn 5. It's working for him, but it's a bit risky. Oh, a bit too wide through turn 6.
He's trying to break away here, but you can see he's just pushing maybe a little hard, kind of 4-wheel slide through the final corner as well, and it's half a car width to the right-hand side, maybe trying to cover this one off if he needs to. Marsh thought about it, was not quite close enough.
Aiden Coote now under a lot of pressure from Williams. So Gorkroger just bolts and looks comfortable now for the win. It's once again going to be Coote and Williams that prevents the first battle to the line. Coote sideways out of turn number 5. Williams snapped as well. Both of them really pushing the car. Look at the attitude from the back of Coote's machine as he comes out of these corners. He's wide. He is wide. Does he cover off? He has to. He does. He drives it down the right-hand side. Covers just enough to force Williams to the outside. He's almost got enough momentum to clear him, but Coote's going to throw it in. And they'll run wheel to wheel through the double right-hander. Can he clear him? Not quite. He just had a fraction of an opportunity there to slide in front of the front wing. He didn't take it, and Williams slips on by. For now.
Yeah, took a couple corners. While that was happening, Marquette took his pit stop and he's rejoined in 4th. He's got Jarek and Marsh behind, who are obviously on those warm tyres, but have been battling each other. So has not worked out terribly for Marquette, who started in 5th, now running in 4th with just a couple laps to limp it home.
Marquette is going to be under pressure here. Those cold tyres taking a little while to heat up. We've seen that with Coote getting reeled in by Williams. And now he's going to get reeled in by Jarek. Down the main straight they go. As Williams and Coote side by side, the lapped car getting out of the way. Jarek on the inside of Marquette on the brakes. He takes the spot. And Matt Marsh wants a piece of the pie.
And I think he'll get some. So it's not just about where you rejoin after the pit stop. You then also have a couple laps after that where you are very vulnerable to attack, and Marquette has seen that. So too, I think, has Aiden Coote in this race. We're on the final lap.
Not quite.
Maybe one more?
One more. You're premature, David. One more lap for the race leader, Tim Gorkroger. His margin up on over 2 seconds now. He sees a white flag and he'll breathe easy. With one more time around Lime Rock Park. Battle for second. Williams defending from Coote, who again shows his nose to the left-hand mirror. Looking to tuck back in behind him and hit his apexes. Washing out wide through the dirty air off the exit of turns 1 and 2. The margin starts to stretch. Are we going to see a slingshot to the line again? He makes a mistake. Over the crest, the car kicks out. Behind them, Jarek and Marsh dueling as well. These two battles going to be very close at the line. Bird out front. No one stopping Tim Gorkroger today. He's going to clean sweep round 2 of the Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series. He takes race number 2 victory after winning in race 1. Aiden Coote will not get by him. Christopher Williams will finish 2nd, Coote 3rd, and Jarek will hold off Marsh.
Yeah, Marquette still gets sixth there, and James Dyer, Robert Cook, a little bit of what could have been both of those guys, losing a couple spots from where they qualified on the grid, still finishing in the top 10. And the last car on the lead lap looks like it's our friend Jake Sperry.
Yeah, he will finish 15th. Few drivers finishing a lap down. Less retirements than race 1, though. A lack of a big lap 1 crash, certainly a big factor in that. In the end, again, to 2 spots to Sperry after starting 17th and running as high as 4th. Let's take a look at your race results then from race 2 of our second round of the championship. Great drive from Gorkroger. He did it with time to spare, driving from the back to the front, winning by 1.3 seconds as he lifted off and coasted on the final lap. Williams and Coote were close, but not quite as close as race 1. They both gained a spot on their race 1 result, finishing 2nd and 3rd. Jarek started with Gorkroger, but only comes 4th ahead of Matt Marsh. Oliver Marquardt rejoined up inside the top 5, but falls to 6th. Robert Cook 7th. James Dyer, Matthew Mites, and Nathan Verney running out your top 10.
In 11th, it's Matty Jones, and behind him, Dennis Hancock, Kyle Simpson, Braden Martin, Jake Sperry in 15th, last car to complete all of the race laps. A lap down then, Peter Wilkinson, Vic Bentveltson, Joshua Lindenthaler, and Tom Verschelden. 2 laps down is Daniel Interissi.
Ryan Hickel, Gordon Smith, Leon Williams, Sean Doyle, Paul Rosati, Todd Maxfield, Braden Mackay, Matt Hodgson, Justin Howe. The rest of your finishers or retirees from the second race. And once again, it's been some great action today, David. The drive for Gorkroger, though, he just seems to have an edge in these cars, doesn't he?
I mean, obviously, you can't deny the pace, qualifying on pole, taking race 1, and then setting himself up this challenge for race 2. I think the strategy certainly helped him to get that clean air very early in the race. But then also, you saw, he started with Jarek. They were similar pace in race 1, but in race 2, Gorkroger just had more when it came to timing the moves through the traffic perfectly and not being held up, moving his way up through the field, which I think is just what Jarek maybe struggled with a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. So Gorkroger should move up now into the lead of the championship after his strong performance in round 1 as well. Remember, the points format for Ozicar will remain very tight over the course of the season. 50 points paying out to the winner of each race. Only a point being lost for each position. Lower you end up down the order, so the points naturally condenses itself. Tim Gorkroger is going to join us for a chat now. Tim, congratulations. You become the first driver to clean sweep an Ozicar Skip Barber Series round, and that was a commanding drive through the field in race 2.
Yeah, it was great. It went as I'd hoped, and a little bit different to Phillip Island last week. I thought it'd be harder to get past everyone, but I guess the guys at the back were pretty accommodating, and yeah, it was great. It was awesome. Really good fun. It was pleasing that Aiden didn't pit till the end. It really meant that I didn't quite know where I was, I had no idea how far ahead he was. But we came out neck and neck, and I don't know whether he took fronts or rears, but it looked like he really struggled once he came out of the pits. So, that was
Were you surprised he didn't defend that spot?
Yeah. Just to take the inside line down the front straight. But I think he saw I had a pretty hot run out of the corner, and I didn't know whether he was going to go to the right, so I just backed out of it and sat nice and close. And he didn't defend, so I just pulled to the right and stuck it up the inside. But it was great. It was awesome. Really good fun and good clean racing tonight.
Obviously, a lot of fun coming from the back, especially when you know you have the pace to do so and still run very well. Obviously, race 1, probably a bit too short to do it well. So you qualified up the front and had a battle with Jarek. Are we going to see this sort of coming from you for the rest of the season? Qualifying race 1, not qualifying race 2, and having a bit of fun up and down the order?
Yeah, I think so. It's important that I keep out of the way of the guys, though. Like, I don't want to cause any problems for anyone who's having their own battles and those sort of things. So, if at any stage I think, hey, this isn't quite working out, or I'm causing problems for anyone, then I'll just go back to qualifying race 2. But getting through the field is a lot of fun, you know. So yeah, I'll keep doing it for as long as I can.
Before we let you go, who do you want to thank for getting it done to you today?
Well, Ryan Jarek and I have teamed up for Paul Yaddick Racing, and yeah, it's been good fun practicing with him and getting him up to speed. So thanks, Ryan, and look forward to next week.
All right, well, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next week, I assume.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Well, with that, we'll wrap things up here on Simspeed TV. Another fantastic addition to the Aussie car formula. This was a Skip Barber Series, also offering TCR action on Wednesdays and V8 action tomorrow night, right here on Simspeed TV. Make sure you subscribe, stay up to date with all of those races, plus plenty more over the rest of the week and many days to come. My name was Ryan Jones, and alongside me was David Haynes. Behind the scenes was Jay Kennedy. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh
here.
my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?